Welcome back, all you guys. So here comes part 2 of my Korra critique of the first season. Hopefully it'll be the last one. Probably not, considering I only got 4 episodes in on the last video, which I disclaimed to me not really planning ahead because I did kind of rush that one out. But I got the episode listings and descriptions right there, and I have my own thoughts and opinions, which is what you came here for, to listen to me ramble on about Korra and all that crazy shit. So, after Korra cries like a little bitch, after getting nearly beat up to the ground. Well, she still got beat, but after nearly getting her bending taken away by Amon, cries like a little bitch. Next day, she's like, PTSD flashbacks hard. Woohoo! But anyway, we find out that Mako's courting Asami, blah, blah, blah. And she's trying to, get Mako out of that. She wants to be with Mako. As ER said, she wants him inside her. She does. It's a fact. They inference it throughout the whole season. It's that Korra wants that Mako D. She wants that fire-bending pinish. So, out of jealousy, she goes on a date with Bolin. And, you think that Mako Bolin would kind of go with the bros before hoes type of code. You think that would be the case, but not kind of, but not really. Because, we're back in the love square thing. Because you got Mako and Asami together. And then Korra's trying to get with, Mako. And Bolin's trying to get with Korra. So we have this whole freaking love square. We're right at the love square. And so, there's some cute stuff in there. Korra's like, eating and burping. And she's like, not acting like how a woman would normally act at the dinner table, which is pretty cool. I'm just like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Like a woman who burps at the dinner table. Burp. So it's just, they have a good time there, and Korra also runs into the big bad motherfucker who's on the biggest and baddest pro bending team in the entire world, I guess, since I don't know if pro bending's like a national tournament thing. I don't think it is, but he's also a waterbender, and they have sexual stares at each other intensely, like they're gonna hate fuck, which is really weird. But anyway, you go further on, Mako's like, I see what you're doing, Korra. Don't fuck up my brother's hopes and dreams by trying to get to me. And she's like, you like me. Mako's like, bitch, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. And everybody's like, mission passed, respect plus. Grand Theft Auto me. So, Mako's being like, yeah, fuck you, thought. And it's great. But then things also happen later in the episode because Korra is trying to go out on another date with Bolin, and it's happening, and then Mako confronts Korra about this, and he's like, Korra, stopped it. But then he also kind of like, I'm just confused right now, there's a bunch of shit going on, we got this tournament coming up later on and everything, and then Korra, out of the blue, runs up and kisses him. Well, not really runs up, but just shoves her lips into his. And I'm assuming there was tongue action. So, yeah. And to be fair, Mako did kiss back, but it was more so in the way that I think he was forced to. And, so technically, Korra sexually assaulted Mako. That is one of the bigger critiques that I will have, because so many people, and I'm going to go through this now, so many people who were fans of Asami were like, what the fuck, bro? Why you cheat on her like that and shit? It's like, well, you forget that Korra is not only the aggressor, as ER states, she has been hounding his ass. You think he'd be tired of this and just wants this problem to go away? But it's not going away. Because Korra has to have her way in everything. He has to bow down to her desires. So, yeah, you're going to ignore that. And then, out of the blue, comes Bolin holding a bouquet of flowers. And he stares at them as they're kissing. And he's like, no, like Darth Vader. Well, not really. He starts crying and runs away. But of course, he has the mind of a child, or at least he's not mature enough to really do the no. But, he's just crying and runs away. And Malcolm's like, you bitch, what the fuck is wrong with you? He's like, hey, you kissed me back. And he's like, what the fuck, man? I told you I was confused. And also, I'm also going to pull up ER again, because guess what? He paralleled that scene in the original show in season 3 where Aang kissed Katara, even though, Katara was saying that she was confused and shit. He just ran up and kissed her, but then she also kissed back, but she was like, but I said I was confused, damn it. And then she ran off, and Aang's like, oh, I'm such a fucking bitch. I'm such an idiot. Korra does not have that revelation. It's only towards the end of the episode does she actually apologize. But, it's like, this is all because the firebender that you want to have his dick inside. You want the firebender dick inside of you. So you emotionally manipulate the little brother of that guy in order to try to get to him in jealousy. Because you're jealous of Asami, girl you've never met, or at least have only spoke to a couple times in passing. And you're just like, fuck it, I'll fuck up this relationship. And then you nearly fuck up the relationship of your team to a point where it has no return from. Even though you have a tournament where you have to kick ass in the next day. The next episode, literally. So you got that. It's like, fuck it. She throws caution to the wind and says, fuck it. And, that just shows to me that the writers they did pull a George Lucas when they were talking to, one of the big means about George Lucas is that not only did he forget how to write well, he forgot how to write romance. Like, he could not write romance. And in my eyes, this is the equivalent of the, Anakin Padme romance from Attack of the Clones, the most illogical romance since Romeo and Juliet. Well, not really the most illogical, but the most stupid. But still, I love George Lucas. I think he's a good guy, but there's a lot of problems with that romance. But anyway, yeah, it's like Mike and Brian. I don't know why you guys wasted your time on a fucking love square. Or in this last, as soon as it comes up, it lasts throughout the last episode of the season. All right, and I feel bad for Asami. The writers fucked her. They introduced her. They actually make her somewhat unique in the fact that she's not a chi blocker, but she can handle herself. She's taken, some classes, but they give her no characterization to work with. All we got is the fact that her mother died and her daddy's a bitch, which we'll get to later. So, that was pretty stupid. But anyway, the next episode, Mon attacks the pro bending arena. And, I'm not really going to go through all the matches and stuff. There's kind of a build-up to what happens with Amon blowing shit up. Because everyone's like, oh my god, Amon sent out a radio detachment saying that he's going to fuck up the pro bending arena and don't go. But Tenzin and Tarlok, I think rightly, said, hey, we can do this to spite him. This would get more support going. We would resist the call to be bitches and forget about having the pro bending tournament that night. It's like, we're gonna fuck this guy's playing in the ass. I think that's admirable. It's an admirable move if you had the right security and guns, which none of them have because, oh no, even though we had this highly, advanced Asian society, even though Asians were the ones who invent gunpowder in the first place, no, we can't have guns because it's a kid show, didn't you know? So, yeah, but there is at least some build up to Amon fucking things up, and you kind of expected that, and that does have an air of tension. And I like that. That's a little bit of attention to detail that completely goes by the wayside for almost the entirety of the rest of the season. I'm not going to count the Hiroshi stuff. That stuff was ham-fisted and you know it. But anyway, Bayfon's like, hey, we'll protect the stadium. Tenzin doesn't really like it because he doesn't want to put people in danger, which, once again, understandable. But, like, Lin, Tarlok, Korra's like, we gotta do this out of spite for this asshole. So it's like, so they have the entirety of the place surrounded by the metal guards, the metal policemen and shit. So it's like, we're ready for this motherfucker. Only they're not. And, you know, Korra and the team get fucked up hard in the final match, which turns out to be the thing that saves them, ironically, because by the time they get their asses beat in the final match, Amon's guys storm the place, and they're armed with some new gloves that can shock your ass, which is an interesting little tidbit of technology, because the lieutenant got those 2 batons with the electric shit, and he can stun people with it. Now they all have their own little glove that can stun people. I'm just like, hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Like, innovation. Now you can have it mass produced for the whole place. Though that does also bring into question, and this will be answered in later episodes, where the fuck are they getting this technology? So, anyway, you know, they fuck things up. They take the Wolf Bats, which is the team that beat the shit out of Korra and them. That's the name of that other team. Amon storms the stage, takes their bending and fucks them up. And Amon's like, welcome to the jungle, motherfuckers. And, you know, he gives a speech about how, like, you know, war is coming, blah, blah, blah. We're going to fuck up all you guys. And then Korra and them, since they all got knocked off the platform by getting their asses beat, you know, they were able to slip past him for a couple seconds. They move back, and they try to beat his ass, which is, you know, somewhat entertaining in terms of an action set piece. Though I'm not entirely, you know, I still think they could have done some of the things in the episode better. But this is honestly one of the better episodes of the season, because it also shows that while people can do what they can to fight against Amon, he's always one step ahead of them, which, you know, you have reasons why explained in later episodes. So anyway, so we come to the next episode, the aftermath, and Tarlok's starting to show why Tenzin hates him so much, even though I think in the episode where he emotionally manipulated Korra to join the task force, that he was always going to be a dick. So Tarlok's like, hey, Beifong, you resign. I know you're the daughter of Toph and shit, and you were really good at killing people and stuff, but you fucked up. You fucked up. You guys were supposed to watch over this shit, and you fucked it up. You fucked it up. And Len's like, fuck you, dude. No. And everybody, including the audience, is like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, she's not only the daughter of Toph Beifong, you know, most badass earthbender behind maybe Boomy, or she's tied with Boomy, or a little bit higher above Boomy because she discovered metal bending, but, you know, this is Toph's daughter you're talking about. You don't disrespect Toph's daughter. All right, that's like trying to disrespect Tenzin because he's Aang's son. All right, you don't do that, though the writers do that every time. Oh yeah, and another thing, they disrespect the character of Mako all the time, even though they named him specifically after the guy who voiced Iroh in tribute. Yay! Disrespect all the characters. So anyway, Tarlok's like, Lin, you resign. Everybody's like, fuck you. And Mako and Bolin, because, you know, Asami's dating Mako, they move into the Shado mansion because Hiroshi's like, whatever, my daughter's doing shit behind my back with this firebending boy who's on the streets, but yeah, fuck it. She said I'm sorry. She's like, okay, but not based on what I remember, because she said something like, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And you know, they got this big ass pool and everything, and they're swimming around in it, and Asami's in this really nice looking onesie. But then again, there was also this meme that came out, I think, shortly after the first season, where it's talking about like the swimwear from Avatar to The Legend of Korra. It really took a step backwards, because the stuff they were wearing in Avatar, that looked like something you would wear. The stuff that was there looked like something you would wear in today's age. Stuff in, well, in The Last Airbender at least, but like in The Legend of Korra, they got stuff from the 1920s, which once again, Why are you referencing the 1920s? You're supposed to be in an Asian world, not America. Okay, I will agree with you on that, Lily Orchard. But anyway, Korra's like, okay, I need to go to the bathroom, freshen up. She's like, oh, Simon's like, okay, it's over there. And Korra's like, okay. And on her way back, she hears a little something bad from the Big Daddy himself, Hiroshi Sato. Some things get a little awkward as the episode progresses because, Asami's Hiroshi's daughter and Mako's the boyfriend of said daughter. And Mako's like, bitch, you may have heard something weird, but it was like, that's not in the right context. And, there's... Okay, but anyway, it's like, this is the stuff you heard wasn't in the right context. You said something that sounded pretty sinister. And, Korra comes in with Beifong, and he's like, hey, you said some shit. What the fuck was that about? And, they're just like, there's a lot of confusion and a lot of, anxiety, especially in terms of Asami. And there was also a lot of awkward shit because the love square thing is really fucking up. Of course, I think it's already lost one side enough to where, like, Bowen's not really even a part of it anymore. So you got this shit, and then it gets to the point where, like, they find some stuff, and they try to find stuff in Sato's factories. Nothing's there. And then, Mako's like, if you keep pushing on this shit, consider our friendship over. And Asami looks like she's really confused all the whole time, and Sato's like, he's being a facetious prick to where it's like really evidencing that he's an asshole and that he actually is a bad guy and is helping out the Equalists. And he even sets up his business competitor, the Cabbage Man's son, or at least descendant, maybe a grandson. But he was like, it's like, not my cabbage cop. And they found like a bunch of Equalist weapons. They're like, no, I didn't make those. Somebody planted them there. And so, there's a lot of crazy shit going down. And then they end up storming his house, with or without a warrant, I do not remember. But they do storm his house. Korra and Lin find stuff, like an underground secret tunnel. And there's this good memes about that one. But they go down there, find this big platinum door, which apparently you can't earth spin, which is stupid because I don't know. Like, does platinum not have earth in it? Is it not have rock? Is it not a rock-based thing? I don't know. It's supposed to be a resource. Why can't you bin platinum? I mean, granted, you could probably reverse engineer platinum to make it to where, or you could do this with any type of metal. Actually, like you can reverse engineer it, or at least melt it down. Or take out all the rock from it. That you could probably do. It'd be a pain in the ass to probably do, but you could probably, make any type of metal unbendable. Or you can do it like the fucking X-Men 3, terrible movie. But they did do something smart in order to combat the fact that Magneto can, take shit that's made of metal and fuck with it to his pleasure. They got, plastic guns they can use. And they actually do a lot of smart precautions for that in the original X-Men movie trilogy, from the live action at least. But yeah, you could do something like that. Or you can use lesser metals, just suggestions out there. But anyway, Hiroshi's like, no, that's made of platinum, can't bend that. So, guess you can't bend that. And then go further on. Well, not further on, but then right there, it's like Hiroshi's got these fucking tanks that look like grunts from Halo. Like, they look legitimately like grunts from Halo. And I think that might be what have, inspired the gigantic grunt mech designs from Halo 5 Guardians, which would be a really weird thing, but that's what they did. And so, you got that there. And then, there's a bunch of them there, and Hiroshi's like, yeah, I'm a bastard douchebag. I was all along. And, his whole motivation was the fact that a firebender killed his wife and Asami's mother. He's like, he made my daughter a half-orphan. Which, looking at it now, it's like, one, why didn't you remarry? I mean, it's, hard trying to find a wife after yours is brutally murdered. I mean, I'm not saying you're unsympathetic here. I'm just saying, why did you go crazy? Okay? And this is like something that ER said. What about the benderisms? Racism, but for benders. Like, we were coming off a century-long war. We're 70 years after a century-long war where the world, I think, is still at least trying to rebuild. Because, I think it's mostly rebuilt, but, there's a lot of animosity there still. Like, there are still animosities towards certain people right now. So, you got parallels there. So, what about the benderism? Okay? The benderism doesn't make sense because everything is biased towards non-benders, okay? Hiroshi, you can fuck people up with your own hand-built machines. Why are you going crazy like this? And to top that off, he did protect his daughter in his own way. He got her self-defense classes. Unlike what Toph's parents did and just kept her locked up and secluded inside a damn room most of her life. And she had to escape from there. Not even a secluded room. Like, they still let her around her house. It's just that, they didn't let her do much. But, you were being proactive with your daughter. You're doing this for your daughter and your wife. Why are you fucking that up? And then, everybody gets their asses beat, and Hiroshi's like, beat your ass. And, and the mechs were also made of platinum, which, it's like, damn, how much platinum did you get? Where'd you find that shit? And then, Hiroshi's like, Asami, join me. Together we will rule the galaxy as father and daughter. And, it's like, oh my God, is Asami going to turn bad because her father's bad? Which I actually would have been something interesting. But in order to have things play out, she shocks her dad with the glove, beats his ass, beats another couple guys' ass that are grown men that are a little bit taller than her, but then again, she had the electric glove so she could beat their asses. Plus, she had self-defense training, so I'm not doubting she can kill them. So, you got that. And then they escape, and Lynn got so fucked up, she's like, nah, fuck this shit. I'm done. I'm done for. My career's over. And Tenzin's like, no, don't do this. Don't do that. You're just giving in to Tarlok's being a douchebag. And she's like, no, I fucked up. So she retires. And, then the next episode is where things just really, really get fucked up. In terms of how the story, not only the story plays out, but how things are just happening in the world as a whole. Because, oh man, it's like, trying to riots, not even riots, but like locking people in their homes, and arresting people without due process, a bunch of things you'd think would be super anti-authoritarian type of inferences there, which I really would have liked if the producers and writers of the show weren't already biased towards big government in the first place. Woohoo. And so, the new Chief Sakan, is the replacement for Lynn after she resigns from her post. And that also reminds me, I still have no idea how the fuck she got her position back after she, resigned from her post. But whatever. So they're like, he's supporting the task force, and, Tenzin and Korra are like, dude, what the hell are you doing? He's like, we're going to start implementing, quarantine, or no, not quarantine, more like, what's the word? Trying to remember the word. Sleep time. a maximum sleep time, or a minimum time to go to bed. What the hell is that word? I cannot remember that word. I'm trying to remember. Oh my God, I'm going insane. Ah, fuck it. I'm just gonna go with quarantine right now because I cannot remember the word. But they're quarantining all the non-benders at a specific point in time during the day. Like, you can't come out after this time, so that way they won't be trying to fuck around with the equal list. And Korra's still having bad times trying to get airbending done, and Tenzin's trying to give her advice, but she's not really listening. And he does give the advice to try to, try to contact your past lives. Be more spiritually centered. And then, a new team avatar is developed, and it's not very effective. Because half of them get arrested within the episode. No, 3/4 of them get arrested within the episode, and one of them nearly dies. So, yeah, that's a thing. So that is that is a thing. But a curfew. That's the word, curfew. So they're patrolling the city and beating the shit out of Equalist, but then they come into the watching Tarlock and the police fucking put people under quarantine, and they're like, dude, this isn't right, this is against the law. He's like, fuck you, I can do what I want and shit. And so because Asami was, a non-bender, she was out past curfew, he was like, hey, I'm gonna arrest your ass. And Mako and Bolin are like, fuck no, same thing with Korra, but he doesn't arrest Korra because she's the Avatar. So, Avatar privilege. Not really though, but really. It arrests 3/4 of the team Avatar. They get put in prison. Korra's like, dude, why you being such a bitch? And she's like, nah. And there was a like a rally. No, the rally came in the second season, but why the hell did they have a rally and a mob in the first 2 seasons? And it's not like they're very effective either, but anyway, you got a mob that's like, hey, we don't want to be up here. We don't want to be stuck in here. We want to go to the 24-hour Walmart and get some groceries. We want groceries, damn it. And they're like, no, you're going to stay in here. It's like, well, fuck you. We'll join them on then. We can get as many groceries as we like. And, they can't do anything to really stop anything that the police are doing. They're fucking shit up. And then she goes to Tarlock in private, and she wants to have her friends freed, but then Tarlock's like, no, on one condition, if you do everything I say. And she's like, nah. But she's like, no, fuck this shit. And she starts beating the crap out of him. And, she nearly beats him too, which was like, holy crap, is Korra actually starting to develop something for character? And then a weird thing happened at the end of that fight. He is a bloodbender. And he fucked Korra up with bloodbending. And I think it was a full moon that night. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to have to put that in some notes for like a correction at the end of this. But he fucked her up. He got did some bloodbending shit to her. Put her in the back of a van and drove off into the night. And, she's not to be seen for the next episode, or at least not to be seen by anyone other than Tarlock. So she's stuck in a platinum box, so that way she can't metal bend, though I don't think she can metal bend anyway, so it's kind of redundant. You could have put her in any old metal box and she would have been fine. I don't know why the description here says it was platinum. But anyway, she's in the mountainside and the snow, which actually... Wait a minute, you can cut metal with water. It doesn't matter if it's platinum or not. Do what Korra, do what Katara did. You're in a small confined room and it's probably kind of hot even though you're in the cold wilderness with snow. But I mean, do the sweat shit. Sweat. Use your armpit sweat to kill the metal. Granted, I know they do that with wood, but they also do something like that in season 2 where they're trying to fuck up that giant drill. Do that. But anyway, Lynn's like, okay, I'm not fucked up anymore. I can move now. I'm not in a hospital bed. So she puts back on her armor, takes off the badge to symbolize that she's not a cop anymore. And she's going to do things on her own rules, her own little thing. She frees Korra's and them's friends. And then there's a really stupid moment where Bolin's walking out and Lynn just metal bends his zipper without even touching it, and she's like, your flyer was down. He's like, shit. That's such a stupid moment. Like, why did you need to have that to happen? Yeah, granted, it's kind of distracting when guys have their flies down. But, I mean, why do that moment? Like, why do you even need that line of dialogue in the first place? But anyway, they go up to Tarlock, and there's a lot of damage, or at least, and there's a lot of damage to it, and they're like, and everything, but then, like, she also gets Tenzin there, and they're all confronting him about where the fuck's Korra at, and what the fuck happened? He's like, nah, she was trying to kill me. She tried to assassinate me. And they're like, not buying it. We're going to arrest your ass. And then, and a witness exposes them for being a bloodbender. And then Tarlock fucks them all up. And, gets, runs back to Korra like a little bitch. And then Korra, in the one of two moments where she actually has some type of spiritual connection. It's not even by her own real volition. All she does is meditate for 2 seconds. No. You had half a season, plus 2 more episodes, to develop your connection, and you fucked it up. But anyway, Aang's like, hey, I'm going to put some shit in your head. And he reveals the stuff about Tarlock, that his dad was this big motherfucker named Yakone. And he was a bloodbender, and the crime that he committed that led to a trial was not specified, but he fucked people up with bloodbending, and it got so bad that, and he was so powerful that he could do it without a full moon, which is supposed to be impossible. Though I guess anything's possible in new canon. But anyway, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck you guys up, and I'm gonna escape here with a big bounty full of cash. But then Aang comes in, fucks him up, and takes away his bending. And, she's like, that's weird. Why are you showing me this? It's like, wait a minute. Oh. And then Tarlock comes in, she's like, Yakone's your father, right? He's like, yeah, and, he was an abusive jackass, but, I mean, I'm basically confining within his revenge fantasy, but I'd rather do this from, like, a political standpoint rather than just being all-out criminal. And then big motherfucker comes back in. Amon, with the small group of guys, find him. I'm still not sure how in the fuck he found them or what the fuck he was even doing there. It was like really ham-fisted the way they did it, but he fucks Korra, makes it out. Tarlock gets his bending taken away by Amon. Naga comes back and saves Korra. They run the fuck out of there. Then the next episode is when the big battle starts, where you think there'd be some all-out trench warfare. No, I wish. Like, if they had some trench warfare in an Avatar setting, you know how fucking awesome that would be? People close quarters bending with, like, hundreds of people in a trench and people above the trench. And all that shit would be cool. They don't do that. I mean, they try to do at least use somewhat World War I imagery with, like, the ships and the planes in later episodes, but nah, they don't really take over the city in that light. So, Korra recovers from, like, her wounds, and everything's going good. Lin becomes the Tenzin family personal bodyguard, and, Tenzin comes in to, like, try to talk to the council, try to figure out things to do next, and then he sees them all get attacked, and he nearly gets fucked up, but he makes it out of there alive. But the other council members have been taken captive, and the city's falling under a full-scale attack. And, Hiroshi Sato's got the fucking mech. He's got the fucking grunt mechs. How the fuck did that design get approved? Why do they look so much like grunts? I'm surprised Microsoft didn't sue them on the spot for that shit. But, they got the new cool shit and the gloves. They got mechs and gloves, so they can just fuck up everyone that they want to. So, and then you also have the taken over airships. And I forgot to mention the airships. You have airships from Gotham fucking City. Like, the first few shots in the show where you're in Republic City, it looks like the fucking airships that were used in the Batman animated series. Why were they not sued the fuck out of by Warner Brothers? I wonder why. But anyway, no, Amon takes over a bunch of airships. They start bombing the hell out of the place. And everybody's trying to get the hell out of there. And then the police force gets attacked. But not before they call for help on the telegram to get some military assistance, even though they don't have their own military assistance in the city, which is something that most modern countries did back then in the 1900s. So, like, come on, guys. Like, they have, like, an old Ironside reference where they could, despite the fact that the ship's, like, 100 years old, it still can't be fucked with because its armor's so good against the weapons that they still have. So it's like, you could do that. Right? Even in fucking season 2. In season 2, they have people stationed there. Granted, it was after the big-ass attack and during an ongoing crisis with the water tribes going at each other's throats, but still, they still did that. Why can't you have military assistance in the city with you? That doesn't make sense. You ever heard of civilian ports? But anyway, you have all that shit. Everybody converges on Tenzin's house because the Equals are going to attack them, and the kids end up joining the fighting after Lynn gets her ass beat, which makes no sense to me. Like, you could have them, like, assist in, like, small ways, but not like, so significant of ways that they end up saving her life multiple times. I really thought that was stupid. But anyway, Len and the kids, and then later Team Avatar come in, help them. They escape. Pema also has her baby. And, Lynn ends up doing a self-sacrifice where she single-handedly, and this is pretty awesome of her, takes down multiple airships before finally being taken captive, and at the end of the episode gets her bending taken away. And then the episode ends with Korra and the team being stuck in a city sewer as they wait for Fire Lord Zuko's grandson, General Iroh, to come in and fuck them up with their military might. And, you'd think that would try to, at least quell the situation, but not really. And then Skeletons in the Closets, the next episode. We only have 2 more episodes left, and I'm nearly 40 minutes in on this rant. So we get to the 11th episode. This is where, like, things get really fucked up again, because, the last episode, I forgot to mention this, but, Mako and Asami started developing a little rift because of Korra. It's because of fucking kids. The damn kids did this. At least one of them did. I think it was Icky. Icky's like, hey guys, Korra likes Mako. And then, like, Korra nearly murders her. And I think this is like the second time she did that in the whole show, that she almost murdered her, but she's like, I'm about to murder your ass, bitch. But anyway, Mako got confronted by Asami in the last episode. It's like, what the fuck happened with you two? What is this I'm hearing about her liking you? He's like, shit. Here's the thing. She kind of sexually assaulted me, but she's not buying that. So she's like, what the fuck, dude? Why didn't you tell me about this shit? Yeah, he's basically been a whipped dog whenever he's been beside Korra, so it's like not much he can fucking do there anyway. And so, in this episode, the romantic tension gets higher, where Asami's basically like, fuck you guys. And she's like, she's being dejected, acting like an asshole, and she's kind of stuck in this weird situation, which, love triangles, everybody. They're just the best thing ever for your story. So anyway, get to there. Everything's kind of crazy. They're stuck with the old hobo trying to live off the lam as the Equalists are fucking shit up in the city, taking complete control. And then towards the middle of the episode, the army finally shows up. And you'd be thinking, oh man, these guys are going to get fucked up hard. Only they got a few more things they can use to fuck up the military with. Because despite the fact that the military has gigantic warships where you could just drop artillery on everything and fuck everyone up, they got planes, and so we get a visual similarity of like Pearl Harbor, only in reverse order, where like the people at Pearl Harbor knew what was going on beforehand and had time to prepare to fuck up the Japanese. While it's like they kind of got weirded up there, so it's like a reverse Pearl Harbor, and the fleet gets fucked up. Iroh barely makes it out alive, and I'm pretty sure like most of the people on those ships got jumped and killed, or at least got their bending taken away after being captured. So yeah, they got fucking airplanes. Like, seriously, what the fuck? And how is it that airplanes weren't? We already had airships, okay? So it shouldn't really be that much of a surprise that they have airplanes, but it's like they make it such a fucking surprise because they don't build it up at all. So you just come in, they got these airplanes. I would have been more accepting of it if they actually used airships. And then you have like a couple scenes with Amon and Hiroshi talking about like new designs. He's like, I got one design, and it's an airplane. And you have more scenes where they're like talking about it. It's like, are these designs finished yet? Blah 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 blah. You have these things, all right? And this isn't with like Atlantis Lost Empire, where they all of a sudden have bipeds, and they don't explain it. Well, they don't explain why they have bipeds. Well, not bipeds, but I don't know why I call them bipeds, but they have airplanes. And they're like, they don't really explain why they have them, but it does make sense that they have them, because in that time period, they did have airplanes. Granted, they're stretching some things because it's a science fiction universe, but they had things. And so, Iroh's feet's fucked up, and they're like, oh man, this sucks. And so they're all going to have to wait again for another fleet that's going to be, led by Tenzin's brother, Bumi, who is probably the best thing out of the later seasons. Because Bumi is just, he acts like Bumi. Hence why he has the name. So it's like, that type of characterization there is, helpful. But then Korra and Mako fuck around the city, and they find Tarlok captive in Air Temple Island. And they're like, well, what the hell are you doing here? He's like, oh, well, I could have just died, and I could have just been shot and killed, but found out a little something interesting. She's like, what? Amon's my brother. And they're like, what? And then you got this whole story about, Yakone had two sons. It was Tarlok and Noatak. And after finding out that they could both waterbend, since he hid out in the Northern Water Tribe, I think it was, and yeah, it was the North Pole. He hid out in the North Pole, got a wife, had two kids, found out they could waterbend, so he started training him in bloodbending. All right, and he wanted to do this that way that one day they could, after he was gone, they could kill the Avatar. Only they didn't really want to do that, so things just kind of happened, and it was a mentally scarring experience for both of them. But towards the end, like, they had to bloodbend each other, and the Tarlok's like, no, I'm not doing this shit, and then Noatak fucking does it to him. And I guess is kind of disgusted by his brother's weakness because he runs away afterwards. But then he does it to his brother, and then he does it to his dad, and then he runs the fuck away. And then Tarlok had to sit there and watch his dad and mom be depressed as they both passed away. Well, as their lives withered away. He was like, you know what, I'm going to do what Dad did, only I'm not going to do it in such an undignified way. But, that's all the context we really get for him being a jackass. And like ER said, it's an acceptable type of character portrayal. Granted, they actually show us shit. They didn't just tell us and not show us anything, which thank God they didn't. But it's an acceptable little thing that happens there. So, they decided to go confront him on head on, and that's where we go into another attack where like everybody else went. They went to go attack an airbase and go fuck that up, so that way they wouldn't fuck up the other fleet, which is a smart move. Only, they get fucked up by an electric fence, so they're all captured. And then the next episode, it's the last episode of the fucking season. Thank God, I'm only 44 minutes in. So, the end game episode. This is where everything comes to fruition. Bolin, Asami, and Commander Iroh all got captured, and Hiroshi's trying to give the Luke Skywalker's Darth Vader speech to Asami. As a guy who believes that Avatar: The Last Airbender has a lot of the same plot points and beats as Star Wars, it kind of irked me that not only were they doing it in a non-built-up way, but they're not even trying to hide it anymore, because at least they were trying to somewhat hide it in Avatar. But, what am I to do? So anyway, there's supposed to be this big Equalist rally that is at the pro-bending place, and Korra and Mako sneak their way in and try to expose in front of the entirety of his crowd that he is a waterbender. Only he has a few plans to deal with that. He's like, oh, you met that little bastard brother that I had. Though he didn't actually say that, but he's like, oh, I got a plan for this. He's like, thank God I applied some makeup. So he shows that his face was fucked up. He's like, look what a firebender did to my face. This is why I'm doing all this shit. Some firebender fucked it up. Jesus Christ, man. It's like, Mako got his dad killed by a firebender, is a firebender, and Asami's mom was killed by a firebender. And it's just funny that everybody likes to trope out this a firebender killed someone that I love excuse, even though this is after the 100-Year War. So that's just an interesting little bit, but they try to expose him. He has a backup plan. He shows him his fucked up face, and he's like, this is what a firebender did to me. Damn, that was a good voice. I should use that more often. This is what a firebender did to me. So, they're like, well, shit, there goes our plan. We're screwed. And the reason that he's having this rally here in the first place anyway is because he wants to make a message by taking away the airbending of the last airbenders known alive. And he's going to make an example out of Tenzin's family. And Korra's like, no, fuck this shit. So Mako and Korra fuck up that whole thing, get them out of there, and they chase down Amon down the facility. And then you think they cornered him, but then they both get fucked up by the bloodbending, which basically looks like you're using the Force. I mean, that's not. I mean, even in the original show, it was a little janky with how they introduced it, but at least they built it up, and you actually saw stuff you could do with the water. And they were using water in the air with like the full moon. They were using the water in the air, and the water in the trees, and the water in the grass to fuck shit up. But whoo boy, it just looks like the Force, because it's not a full moon, and it doesn't make sense how he's using that anyway. But then you're also doing it in a place that has no other water source other than blood to use. So he's fucking them up with blood bending. Oh yeah, shouldn't he be using water bending in the air anyway? I mean, you'd think he would, considering he can just do all that shit with blood bending without a full moon. But he fucks them up, and then he takes Korra's bending away, and she's like, no. Imperial March theme plays, and he's like, yeah, I was bloodbender all along, fuck you. And then Mako comes in, saves the day, after the lieutenant finds out that everything he fought for was a lie and got his ass beat. And I was like, oh, he wasn't a drone all along, which I had to have guessed, kinda, because but not really. You wouldn't really be able to inference that. But he fucks up Amon. Well, it tries to fuck up Amon, but Amon fucks him up by throwing him against a bunch of wood and just seemingly kills him, because you don't see him in prison afterwards. I don't think you actually see him again for the rest of the series. But yeah, he fucks him up, and then Mako comes in, tries to save her, runs away with her in his arms, and then he gets blood bent and is about to get his bending taken away, and then here comes the second most infuriatingly retarded moment of the whole show. Okay, Korra has all her bending taken away, right? You think that would mean everything, including her ability to airbend. me. Because even though, and this is what the show is basically saying. Right, because I'm going to explain what happens. She sees it happen, she's like, no! And then she punches in the air and airbends. Like she's trying to firebend, but she airbends. And fucks both of them. And she's like, I can airbend? Holy shit! The illogicalness of this cannot be disputed. It is just so fucking dumb. It's ridiculous how they fucking handled it. Because, I mean, here's what you would think. Here's what you would fucking think. She got her bending taken away completely. You would think she got her bending taken away completely. So that includes her ability to airbend. But they're basically saying, the writers of the show are saying, that because she could bend in the other three elements so proficiently that airbending was thrown to the wayside and was blocked by those other three elements. Which is stupid. Never in the history of the original series, or in this one, have you gotten a bender that was like that. Never before. So why the fuck are you saying that a bending type gets blocked by another bending type? You think we would have multiple bending type people out there that, you know, could bend multiple bending types without being the Avatar? Because that's a theory that I've had basically since I started watching the show. What if there was, like, you know, people who had both bender genes, like, an, you know, a fire bender and an earth bender? You can mix that together. You got multi-benders that aren't avatars, since, you know, they're not of the spirit world. So it's just a weird thing, but I think they could have done a way to actually make that work. And you could have, like, a little thing with the multi-benders where, like, you have to develop one bending type in order to unlock the next one, or at least, like, you have both bending types, but it's hard enough to control one and the other at the same time when you're trying to bend, because you're not the Avatar and you don't have the spirit energy inside of you. But in this one, it's basically saying that even though that Korra is the Avatar, and she has spirit stuff running through her veins, she cannot bend one element despite being proficient in the other three. And if you watch ER's video, he does play a clip where they basically spell it out to an interviewer on this, in part 3, I believe, of his critique of Korra. You know, it's just so insulting. That made me feel like the writers just did not give a shit about what they were trying to do. And these were guys who did quality. They've done quality work in the past. So it's like, what the fuck were they thinking? So Korra ends up fucking him up and punches him in the water, and then Amon seemingly gets knocked out, only to wake up and use waterbending to get out, only the dumbass didn't realize that, A, he didn't have his mask got fucked off, and not only that, it was in broad daylight in front of all of his supporters that he dragged there in the first place. So he found himself out. He made himself get found out. So he runs away like a little bitch. And when you're back at the airfield, you know, everybody escapes. They beat the shit out of Hiroshi, and Asami's like, I'm sorry, Daddy, but I gotta beat your ass up. And he's like, no! And he gets his ass beat. And so Tarlok is freed by Noatak. They both leave on a boat, and it kind of seems like a happy ending for both of them. It's like they finally realize, like, the stupidness of their ways, and they're like, we're gonna start a new life. But I think Tarlok was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, but he realizes that they did some bad shit, and they would basically be doing exactly what their dad did, but worse. They did exactly what their dad did, but worse. He was like, there's no salvation for us. Even if we start again, there's no escape. And so he unscrews the cap on the gas tank, puts the electric glove over the thing, and blows him the fuck up. And it's like, whoa, that was interesting. That was actually kind of dark. So Korra goes to Katara to try to have her, since, you know, Katara is the default healer. I mean, you wouldn't try finding someone in Republic City, mind you. I guess not. Just another way to shoehorn Katara into the last episode. But Katara's like, I'm sorry, but he fucked her up. She ain't getting that shit back for a long time. And as we established in earlier episodes, you know, she's tied to her sense of self as the Avatar, not as to her sense of duty. So she runs away. She's like, well, damn it, I can't be the Avatar anymore. And she starts crying and refuses the embrace of Mako. Runs away to a cliffside and she starts crying. Then this is the most irritating part of the show for me, is that despite the fact that she, has not developed much of anything for her spiritual side, the whole show, Aang comes in and gives her a bending back. And the way they hand wave this from any criticisms, like, when we're at our lowest point, we're open to the greatest change. I'm like, that's stuff for, like, personal issues, not power. Because you got your power taken away. Granted, you could probably do something to try to develop it back, considering, there's a lot of stuff with the chief pathways you could do. But just outright giving it back. Your past lives are... In the original show, they were not mind healers. Right? This is the exact same thing as, like, Yoda being able to freaking lightning bend, or not lightning bend, being able to shoot down lightning in The Last Jedi. Okay, because they were never inferenced to be able to do so. It was very clearly contradicting what they originally were. Okay, Force Ghost and the Avatar past lives work the same damn way. They cannot alter the real environment. All they can really do is help the Avatar or that Jedi on their journey. Okay, they can't do anything to the physical environment. They can't. Okay? So how in the fuck is Aang able to physically alter Korra to get her bending back? Makes no sense. But they do a half-ass explanation, so it's good. It's automatically good. And then Mako comes in, they kiss, and the season ends. And oh my god. Oh my god, that's just... Oh my god, that's just... Oh. Mature... I'm reading the Wikipedia reviews of the reception. The writers were credited for finding a believable balance between magic, technology, and for their mature and nuanced portrayal of romantic relationships and conflicts. Fuck off, you dumb shits. Okay? The murder-suicide of the Mon thing, I will think that was actually kind of unexpected, but... I love how this thing has like no mention of how the fans reacted to it, because a lot of people did not like it on release, despite the fact that I think it had majority widespread good reception, but So yeah, that's my hour-long discussion over the second part of book 1. What an absolute fucking train wreck. I cannot believe that the script was not only approved, but that they thought it was good enough to not only animate, but to release it. That's just... God, it's so damn stupid what they did to this. I cannot believe they did this stuff. Right? You'd think that the retconning of the Avatar system, like in terms of bending, would just stop there. No, it gets even worse in book 2. And the book 3 makes it even worse, almost, to a degree. Even though it helps the story out a little bit. So, anyway, there's my discussion over book 1. And, yeah, just about an hour. But that's just too much shit to go through in a freaking short amount of time, so boo. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully I don't go insane rewatching the rest of the series, because I don't want to have to rewatch season 1. I didn't want to have to rewatch season 1 to do this, and I didn't. I had enough of that show the first season implanted into my brain, though I am going to have to rewatch everything in books 2, 3, and then I will watch book 4. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Don't die.